Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. This is episode 28, and my name is Mauricio. And I'll pass this along to Indian Star.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Indian Star. Welcome to episode 28. We're very excited to have you. And now I will throw it over to GB. Golden Boy?
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Zach Golden, and good to be with you guys today on this Saturday leading up to the 4th of July. And if you guys are in the United States, we got some holidays in other countries as well too. So if you guys are celebrating, welcome, and happy whatever day it is for you. And this week we also have another guest joining us. You guys may hear us refer to him all the time during most live streams. And today we have a voice to go along with the messages in the background. So everybody say hello to Dave Avery.
Yay! Hello, Dave!
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And happy Canadian Day yesterday to all the Canadians out there. And let's get on with this.
So I just wanted to preface this show out today. I don't think we don't have aerials to go over today, but we still have some developments at Starbase, plus a ton of ground images to go through. But today is also going to be a little bit of an open forum as well. So if you guys have different topics that you want us to cover, as far as different questions that we normally don't have a chance to get to, or even things from the aerials last week, which we didn't have time to go over, then let us know in the questions, and we will try and get to all those things that we don't normally cover. So with that being said, if you guys do have any questions, you can type them into the chat. All you have to do is type exclamation mark questions followed by your question, and then we will see those and try and answer them the best we can.
And just a point of clarification, it's just question. There's no S at the end, because I know some people put the S at the end. So if you put the S, we won't see it. But if you type exclamation point question, space, and then type your question, you'll be good to go.
All right. Well, with that being said, I wanted to kind of start this week off with something that I saw on Twitter, which was posted by Mauricio. And I don't know if most of you have probably seen this. Let me go ahead and swap over to it. If it swaps, there we go. So this is basically right in front of the wide bay. I still have a hard time calling it mega bay. It just doesn't feel right to me yet. So hopefully you guys don't mind. But yeah, so this is right in front of the wide bay, and I'll let you guys watch it first before I start talking about it. All right. So as you guys can see, there is a fairly sizable crack in the ground next to the mega bay. And just for let's give some aerial reference to this as well too. I'm going to actually pull up an image from last week, um, in order to show this to you guys. So just bear with me for a second. All right, let's see if this works. So basically, we are looking. So this is the mega bay right here, wide bay, mega bay, high bay two, and that crack that we were looking at, I believe, is right along this line right here, Mauricio. Is that correct?
Actually, it's right underneath that Jeep that's parked there. So the boundary line for you see that no trespassing sign,
Right here.
and well, to the left, right a little bit to the left where that I guess the roadblock is at, that thing right there.
Mhm.
That's where that big hole is at, and then the crack extends towards the bottom of the screen. And I think it ends right about there, more or less.
Yeah. So this is pretty interesting, and this leads into a lot of speculation. Some of it, uh, y- I'm glad you're here to add on to some of this because this is something that we've kind of seen, or that I believe has been affecting this area a lot over the last few years. So let's swap back over to that image really quick, or that video really quick, just so I can kind of talk about it. So one of the things that I noticed pretty much immediately is, well, number one, it's like a pretty clear fissure, pretty much. So it's almost as if there's two separate slabs, But obviously, this is concrete, or sorry, not concrete. Um, so it's interesting that it would split this way. But if you guys notice, there's definitely appears to be like water inside of there. So this kind of, I mean, Dave, would you say this is a fair representation of the water table, or is this more likely just due to recent rain?
Could be either. The water table here, I think, is a little lower, but we also are sitting right next to a leach farm for a septic system for the tiki hut.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, man, that's a pretty deep crack right there. It almost,
Just for reference, last time we were looking at these, Mauricio's guessing that's almost 6 foot deep.
wow. Might need to get some fencing up around that, huh? You can see it kind of split off right here, and then you have another hole right here. Um, yeah, this is very interesting. So, for those of you who don't know, let me pull up one more older image. Um, so this is what the foundation of the um, wide bay looked like as they were constructing it. So we've kind of talked about this on past episodes. It's basically this is your main base of the structure, which is this ring, this rectangular ring that goes around it, and it's not. It is connected to this concrete slab right here, but it's not at the same time. It's not like directly tied in with rebar or anything. So if you have issues where there's like a lot of weight inside of here, and it's actually causing the foundation to sink. In my opinion, it shouldn't really affect way over here, because if anything, I would expect it to almost crack like, oops, sorry, closer to the edge of that foundation, right, Dave? Like, wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
I would agree with that. I think this is something more local to the end of the road there on Rocket Road.
Right. And so there used to be drainage all through here, correct?
Yeah, there's a drain actually that runs along both sides of Rocket Road. That is a ditch there. Those cars are at risk of sliding into that ditch. That ditch is about 3 feet deep on both sides of the road. You can see the little bridge over it on the corner of your drawing.
Right.
So those are drainage ditches. And parking there is sort of at your risk because the ditch is pretty close to the road.
Interesting. Yeah. So with the natural water flow that happens down here, it's probably safe to say that there's probably some erosion underground to some degree that you're not able to see as well too, right?
Yeah, I would say this is definitely a flow path. It has been a flow path long before Wide Bay and High Bay were here. In fact, I believe these ditches used to extend all the way across the ring yard area, almost over to the tents.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I got kind of excited when I first saw this is because, and this is actually the perfect image to show it, just so happened to be this same week. Let me see if I can get a better angle of this really quick. So, man, this is crazy that it just happened to be the same week. So, this is something that happened, in my opinion, to the Wide Bay kind of frequently, which it was basically, every time they were lifting a really heavy load inside the Wide Bay, or I don't know if it was because they were lifting it inside of there, or if it was just transporting things in front of it, boosters specifically, they ended up having to replace the concrete. So this was, I believe, the last time they did it, and it was also like the fourth time they did it. So when I first saw that huge crack in the ground, it kind of reminded me immediately of this, because I was like, oh man, I hope they're not having that same issue. And to be fair, it is a little bit speculative to some degree on what actually was the cause of why they had to replace this so many times. But um, in my opinion, it was due to boosters moving back and forth and also being lifted up inside of the high bay, because that's this structure and this base of this building is a lot more supported than what this was. So I would not be surprised if, as they're lifting boosters in here, it causes a lot of I don't even know the right word to describe this right now. How would you explain like what would cause this, Dave, in your opinion?
Squeezing of the soil like a sponge.
Right, and then would that actually like push up underneath, or just actually
It
cause
would
it to
push. It
crack
would
around this?
push. It would push out in both directions. So both towards the inside and the outside would be my guess, because the foundation is a ring, and if you push down a ring, you get a donut of pressure, and you have low pressure areas inside and outside.
Right. So theoretically, also, if you have water underneath this as you're rolling over it with that huge booster, it could cause the whole thing to crack as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can safely assume that pretty much all of the construction site, the build site, the subsoil was not really prepared very well. They just poured concrete over dirt. They didn't dig the dirt out and put gravel and aggregate and base in to make it a full road base. So
Right.
this is lightly supported concrete slab.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that has any significant base to it is the wide bay, right? And you can kind of see it
Uh,
as they were doing it here. I mean, they dug a huge hole in the ground. They put a huge gravel base for it. But you can even see, in my opinion, I think you can see the water coming up through it right now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Definitely.
they were. I'm pretty sure that we also had some rain in here, but yeah, this one at least they put down rock base before they poured the concrete on top of it. I don't remember them doing that on high bay.
Yeah, they definitely. I don't think they got anywhere near this kind of support on the wide bay, or sorry, the high bay. And this is actually kind of interesting because this um, ties into another subject, which I don't know if I can find some images really quick. Let me grab some from Greg Scott really quick if I can find it, showing basically the foundation of the Mega Bay in Florida, which is completely different. So it's kind of cool to compare these. Um, we're not gonna be able to see it for too much longer, and after once they finish the base here. Let's see, got a good
Would
image right here.
that be the reason why we see so many water trucks, like those little industrial, I believe it says industrial something on the side of the truck, and it looks like a little mini water truck, and we see tons of them going back and forth from the launch site.
The Movac trucks,
No, not
the
the
red and white
Movac. There's a
ones.
smaller one. There's a smaller one that's
Those
gray.
are spray trucks just to keep dust down.
Got it.
Yeah, those are United Rentals, just regular construction site water spray trucks. And then there's also a semi that comes out periodically, silver tank, says drinking water on it. That actually belongs to the county, I discovered. The cab on it says Cameron County Public Services. And I believe that's the water delivery because they don't have water mains. The county delivers water to all of the houses in the village. And I assume SpaceX is drinking water also.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so the the thing I wanted to show here was that you can see number one that they this is the Roberts Road facility for anybody who wasn't immediately aware of that. You can see that they've got it's dug out probably about, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet deep all the way around the outer edges, which is something they didn't do at the Mega Bay at Starbase. So this is like, you can kind of see it appears to be a much different base, but in my opinion, it's not really that different, except for the fact that these are pile driven into the ground. So you actually have all of these supports pile driven into the ground. So uh, this structure is made to not move at all. Where, in my opinion, when we look back at the other one,
Well, I think
this is basically
Mega Bay was dug about 6 feet in. High Bay was not.
yes, but this doesn't have any piles driven into the ground.
No, there's no pilings here.
Yeah, and so you can kind of see that it's basically just a small concrete slab with about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet of rebar.
Yep, it's a floating ring.
Yeah, so it's a floating ring. It's probably really strong. However, it's basically made to move around to some degree. So, um, if the building for some reason were to tilt, I would imagine that you would get cracking along the edges because it's a floating structure, so it's separate from the surrounding concrete. But I don't think, and then that's like almost something you would see in like hurricane, or sorry, um, earthquake prone areas too, right?
Yeah, where you float the foundation and then you don't tie it to the exterior grade.
Yeah, so you can kind of see just from this alone, like massive difference between this and the other structure at the Roberts Road facility. So, I mean, significantly more supported. And as I said, these are really deep into the ground, so this thing is not going anywhere. And
Yeah, these are more like what is under the OLM or the OLIT.
right, except way more of them. Yeah, this is
Lots more of them, but still about the 60 to 80 foot long drilled and poured caissons that are what they use at the launch site.
Yeah, so they got quite a bit of work left to do here. I mean, we should see them obviously put that formwork all the way up around, and then they probably have to do
I have to put embeds in for all the beams.
embeds, and they need to uh, rebar around in the ins. Oh, they already started it over here. It looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can
Yeah,
see
it's working. It's working a lot like they did on Mega Bay, where they're going around the circle progressively with each step, and when they get to the end, they'll join where they started. And different crews are working on different phases at different portions of the ring.
right. Yeah, and while we're showing these images, I want to mention everybody. Um, make sure you guys are like supporting Greg Scott as well too. It's really awesome having somebody down in Florida who's able to get us images so that we're able to make comparisons like this. So if you guys haven't followed him on Twitter yet, please be sure to do so. They do Greg Scott and Fariel do flyovers like every 2 weeks, so it's really helpful for us to be able to see stuff like this and do comparisons um,
And,
between these two structures. But
and if you,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, if you look in the very top left corner of that image, you'll see they haven't even poured the slab around the caissons. That's the last piece they're working on.
Oh yeah, so it's like basically a ring of progress.
Yeah, yeah.
For
It's a
an end
cutaway
here.
of how to build this structure in all phases in one picture.
Yeah, definitely. And while we're here, there's some other things I wanted to kind of bring up. Um, you know, I think it's kind of getting obvious now. Hold on, let me see if I can get a better shot of it. Sorry. It's kind of getting obvious to me now that this is more of a facility for like manufacturing of launch towers, not just one, but several. And I've kind of heard this mentioned around a little bit, but you know, with having 9 different platforms or jig bases set up, um, they probably knew that by the time they moved this first one that they really wouldn't need the remaining ones, and that's what they did in Starbase. So, in my opinion, this is kind of their way of basically getting set up for building multiple of them here. So, what do you guys think?
I believe you're right.
I think they might build multiple, but I think it's going to sit in hiatus here for a year because the next one they would build here would probably be for 49, but 49 has probably a year of government paperwork before they can break ground on it.
Now, Dave, GB had a theory in Twitter. He posted it where he was talking about a set of towers going to Missouri as well. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I know Marcus House brought
They
it
would
up as
build.
well.
I would expect them to build those in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I mean, you're sitting in a shipyard that's built for putting steel together. Um,
Yeah,
So,
that,
did,
that makes sense to me just to build it right on site.
so when we saw it on the truck, you don't think it was going there for that purpose, or do you think it was?
you know what?
Well,
Let's actually let's talk about that a
that
little
was a
bit.
launch table. That's a little different.
That's a
Okay.
good topic though. I kind of do want to talk about that. Just give me 1 second while I pull up the image that she's talking about, um, because it is kind of along the same subject. So, uh, for those of you who haven't seen it, we finally got a solid image of one of the launch table sections as it was moving down the highway. I mean, we had one, we'd seen one a few weeks ago. However, um, in my opinion, it was super blurry because it was from a dash cam. I mean, we basically got lucky to even get that image in the first place. But with this one, and I just found it finally. Um, with this one,
There it is.
you wait, this over here can see it much much clearer. This is pretty crazy. So there's a lot of things about this that there's so much to talk about here. You know what I mean? So number one, as I kind of mentioned in his original tweet, like this is either SpaceX being way further behind. This actually be a cool poll to do in the chat, Mauricio. Do you guys think this is more likely that SpaceX is significantly far behind on launch mount number 2, or is this launch mount number 3? And the reason I say that is because we had seen at least 4 of these show up to Hangar M, thanks to some Google Earth aerials posted by Harry Stranger. We were able to see them, at least 4 of them, probably about 3 months ago. So yes, there's definitely some supply chain issues going on out there. However, I don't think they're that bad, and I could be wrong, but that would be pretty sad if they were that far off on where they're expecting to be right now. But in my opinion, I do think this is a little bit more likely that it's a third launch mount.
Well,
And-
especially given the street sign there that says "This way to Pascagoula."
Yeah. So we have so that this is a thing that when I first saw that, it was actually who told me? I think it was Max Q. We were talking about it, and that is where Deimos and Phobos are being stripped and renovated. But this also is the only way that you can get to the Kennedy Space Center complex from Louisiana.
Yeah, I'll throw one other tidbit out here. This was discussed on NSF's commentary yesterday, day before. And they said, yes, the table is rapidly being assembled in Florida, and no, we cannot show you pictures. It is in a photography banned area because it's on the Air Force Base. But they say every time they go in to set up cameras for a launch, they see it.
Yeah, I don't think that you could build it inside of that hangar unless they have some very large gantry cranes in there. So I guess it would make sense that it would be outside. But I still do not think they're this far behind. That would be
No, I think it's in the hangar, and I think the full ring is there, and they're piping it. From what the hint he was dropping.
Yeah, I think that this one is people are maybe seeing this one as well too. And because this one would be outdoors, whereas the second one should be indoors, which
Correct.
makes sense why we're just now hearing about people saying, "Oh yeah, we see them assembling the launch mount." I think you're seeing them assemble launch mount number 3 because number 2 is inside the hangar, and beyond
Well,
that,
they say the hangar doors are open frequently when they drive out to the
okay, that would make sense.
LC-39 to put their cameras up for a Falcon launch, or for 39A-B for an Atlas launch. But unfortunately, the road in between the gate and when you get out to the launch complexes, you are absolutely not allowed to take any pictures. So they can eyeball it, but that's it.
It looks like the chat thinks that it's mostly going for number 2, launch mount number 2. Interesting.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with them, but everybody is. Do we have? What's what percentage are we at?
51
I'm not even
to
gonna try and sway
49.
this one again like I did last time.
It's close.
51 to 49.
Actually, right now it's 50-50.
Now it's 50-50. That's right. Look at that.
See,
Real
Zach,
time.
they've been listening to us, so we're convincing them.
Stop it. I'm
So-
just kidding.
I wanted to talk about a few interesting things that I've noticed here. So they've definitely redesigned this launch mount, and there's a few different things that you can notice here. So number one, this is the bottom, and wait, hold on. So this is the bottom, and this is the top. So the way you know that is because the bottom doesn't have shelves like this, where the bottom does. Or sorry, the bottom does not have shelves and the top does. So that's how you can kind of tell which side is which means that these holes right here are probably for part of the mechanism for the upper part of the mechanism for the table arms. So the part that, oh man, this is kind of hard to explain.
That should be the QD cover pivot, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so this right here. Oh wait. Yes, that might be right. So the Raptor quick disconnect cover pivot could be from right here, the actual hood that comes down. And so I don't think these are finalized holes, but these are like pre-drilled holes.
Those should be the pilot holes for the jig bore that's done on site at the end after all the stresses are from welding are relaxed.
Right. And so one thing I also wanted to mention, that just to add on to this poll that we have going that Jax just pointed out in the background. So the Google Earth image that showed those 4 launch mount sections was taken in January. So this piece would be 6 months late if that was the case. But yeah, we also in here, this is part of the structure for connecting the actual hold down arm to the QD, the Raptor QD. So because they move together, they actually, this is going to be tough to explain without showing some other images. I'm going to hold off on that deep explanation. But yeah, these are all things that didn't exist the first time around on the original launch mount. I think I can even see a door stop right here that stops the hold down arm from moving any further back. So they got half of those installed already, it looks like. So yeah, I mean, this should move really fast. And in my opinion, I think it makes sense that they should be ready to start the next one as soon as this one's finished. So the guys who do most of the welding on the inside probably don't have, well, they still have a lot to do after that's done. But once the welding is finished, then everybody else comes in and starts laying out all of the mechanical piping and all that stuff. So that's a good time for the welders to move over to the next table, if there is a next table. And I think that's what's happening right now. So yeah, I mean, this is good news. I think that SpaceX is probably way ahead of the ball on the 3rd launch tower and launch mount. And with that being said, I wouldn't. Oh, hold on one second. We have a good image to.
And you
kind of
haven't even
explain some of the
commented
stuff.
on the biggest. You haven't even commented on the biggest change here: the thickness of the top and bottom plates. They look thinner to me.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we've been expecting, is that these would be thinner than the other ones. So the first launch mount, the top plate is 2.5 inches, the bottom plate is 1.5 inches, and each of the vertical pillars are 3 inches thick. So yeah, I mean, this one it does appear to be a little bit thinner. It's kind of hard to tell just from looking at this image, but that's something that we've been.
Well, we do have an EON comment to EDA that, yeah, we sort of overbuilt the first one.
Yeah, that was Sam Patel who kind of mentioned that the thickness of the table added a lot of complexity when it came to welding, and just a general time that it took to complete all of these welds that they had to perform. But when I was talking about the QD covers earlier, so that hole that we saw pre-drilled is probably the one that is connected to this this hood. So this hood has a hinge right inside of this wall, and that is most likely what we're seeing right here. So that is something that they pre-drilled, which is nice, because that will save them a lot of time on site having to do that. And the other structure is what joins this clamp, this QD to this clamp. And we're not going to be able to see that from this image. We'd actually need probably one of the older cosmic perspective images to properly show that one. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see all the changes that they've made. I wish I could see the bottom side of it to see if these things are on there, because I'm really interested to. I'm still in the process of figuring out exactly what these are. They're not whatever they look like they are. They definitely have a different purpose than what we're thinking. They're not like. Well, I guess we haven't talked about this at all, so I'm not even going to go into it. But this is definitely a secret feature, in my opinion, of the launch mount. And I was hoping that when we saw them bring in the new sections, that we'd actually get a chance to check those out. But yeah, I think we've kind of touched on this one for quite a bit now. So maybe I should hop back over into the into Mauricio's images from Starbase, unless we have some questions on this subject still.
Not so much on this subject, but there are other questions, and there's some donations. If you don't mind, I'll give some shout
Yeah.
outs. We want to thank quite a few people. Excuse me. We want to thank Doom 2 Pro, who gave a $5 donation and also suggested that we reach out to Practical Engineering. Just a message on YouTube. He knows what's going on and he's been to Boca Chica before, he or she. We also have a $20 donation from 55 Chevy Guy Steve. Thank you, sir. He says, for airplane fuel and sunny treats. And then he asks everybody in the chat to please match the donation. So if you all feel it, can do it, we would love to have it. It all goes towards flyovers, and a little portion goes towards sunny if that's what you wish. We also have a $10 donation from Jim Cavett, who says, I have 10. And we have a €10 donation from Jacqueline. She says, thank you, RGV team. There is a question about the launch mount from
Just
Nolan.
to comment on one of those really quick. So I have reached out to Practical Engineering. I've emailed him back and forth several times. I will probably save that stuff for one of my deep dives. But yeah, I typically go searching pretty deep for information, so we're on the same page. I'll just say that.
Sounds good. And then we also have a $50 donation that came from PayPal. We also, and the individuals, Michael says, Pixels, coffee, and some other stuff. We also have another $10 donation towards a camera fund from Jim Cavett.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you guys so much for your support. Mauricio, do we have an update actually that we can give them on the camera?
Well, I know we talked about it, but they seem to have raised the price on that camera. It used to be $29.99. It's like they don't want me to get that camera, so I don't know what's going on. Let me post a link to that camera. But we're about, I want to say about 50% covered at this point.
Yeah, I think last time I looked at an A7R4, it was north of 4,000.
Yeah, I think the last time that we checked, Indian Star could remember on that. I think they had it for like $29.99.
Correct.
And right now they have it for like $34.49 or something like that. So it went up in price. But we're about 50% covered on that. Hopefully we get to reach that goal here. If you guys want to donate through PayPal or through Patreon, that'd be a tremendous help. You know, if you want to support through maybe YouTube, super chats, or to become a member, that also works as well. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, PayPal is actually probably the best way, just because it's instantaneous instead of taking I believe 45 days. So if you guys want to have more of an immediate effect, that is the better way to go. They also take less away, so they take a less percentage. So more of what you donate actually goes to what you donate towards, instead of, well, I mean, you know, I'm all about supporting YouTube because they give us this platform in order to do this stuff, but you know, some of those percentages are rather high, especially when they're already advertising on top of your stuff. So if you guys are on the same page with that and want to help us get around that a little bit, then I would say PayPal is the better preferred method. But with that, I wanted to hop into some of these ground images. I'm looking in the background right now because I wanted to talk about something that Mauricio got a really cool image of, and that's something that we touched on last week. So I will show it really quick from the air.
While you pull that up, I have a question for you, gents. It's from Nolan Holofield. He asks, so some of the pieces of the launch mount systems are being built at Pascagoula shipyards? I believe Dave was addressing that too earlier.
I don't think the actual pieces of the. Hang on a sec. I don't think the actual pieces of the launch mount are being for Florida are being built in Pascagoula, but we're thinking they're getting ready to build a third and fourth launch mount for Phobos and Deimos in the shipyard where they're doing the work in Pascagoula.
Yeah, and that actually, while we're talking about that, there is one more image that I guess I could bring up on that subject. Let me see if how quickly I can find that. Basically, Phobos and Deimos are a little bit. Um, they're not in the same stages as far as where they're at in their disassembly, and I believe it's Deimos that's mostly stripped, or is that Phobos?
I think you're right with Deimos.
Yeah, and I was trying to find this image showing the current status of both of them, but I'm unable to find it.
And correction,
If
it's
if I
Phobos. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard to remember which one was
Yeah, I
fully
think
disassembled.
Deimos was the one in Brownsville, so it's behind.
Okay, yeah, so that would be Phobos. That's almost closer to being disassembled. And in case that ends up popping up in the chat, if somebody else finds that, let me know, and I will go ahead and show it. But yeah, on that note, so this structure right here is something that we mentioned last week, and we were kind of thinking that this is most likely a new work platform for the um, underneath the launch mount. So luckily, Mauricio was able to get just a small sighting of it on in these ground images. So let me try and see if I can find it over here really quick.
And while you do that, just want to give a shout out and thank you to Pal 9000 who donated $19, 19 euros and 99. I don't know what you call cents in euro in Europe, but he says thank you RGV team.
What do you call them?
Dave.
I would guess cents.
Yay! One for Indian Star.
Like crumpets, euros and crumpets.
There we go.
So the if you guys look at this a little closely, you can see this single line right here, and this is kind of crazy that luckily Mauricio was able to get this, and he knew where it was, so he knew what we were looking for over here. But what you're seeing right here is one whole panel right here, and then this is part of the center panel, and you can see that there's a separation between the two of them in the middle. So, as I mentioned last week, this most likely folds all the way up, and that would allow. Swap back to the right image. That would allow, once it folds along this line right here and this line right there, that would allow it to slide underneath underneath in between the legs of the launch mount, and basically go once you're underneath it, you can fold it down, and then you have a platform that allows you to work on all 33 Raptors at the same time. And I'm kind of thinking that this actually is either a part of this structure right here. So this could be what this is made for. And I think can't believe I think it was Max who pointed that out last week, or Thomas. But yeah, I mean, it could go on top of this, or they could be renovating the existing Raptor work platform, which is something I was kind of looking for. And just to show you guys which one I'm talking about. Oh man, if I do that, it's going to take us way further ahead in the images. I will hold off on showing the other Raptor stand, but once we get there, I will bring it back up. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it. It's not that far away.
While you're looking for that, RGV, Mauricio, there is a question from Michael Maxey. He's asking, does RGV have permission to do flyovers in the Pascagoula shipyard to look at Phobos and Deimos?
Well, when Deimos was here in Brownsville, we used to do flyovers quite maybe every other week. There wasn't really much going on, but I think to answer his question, I think it's a little bit too far from where we're at, so I don't think it would be financially feasible to do a flyover over there, just because it would probably cost too much to take off from here and do it over there. We'd have to probably drive and rent an airplane over there to do something like that. But so yeah, I don't think we're gonna do any of that.
Yeah, Pascagoula is a good haul away from Brownsville.
Yeah, it would be interesting to
Really,
see
it would be
if,
about 5 hours of flying, maybe a little more. Just one way.
wow. Okay. I just got something in the background. I don't know if this was just posted, but we're going to have to talk about it. Oh, and yes, it was. So here we go. We have some new imagery from SpaceX.
Wow. Look at that.
So this would be the
Wow.
underside of the booster. Let me go ahead and save this for myself right now because I'm
Right?
going to need that later.
Doesn't it look like GPJ's doctored one?
No.
Oh.
That
A
looks
little
much better.
bit. So sorry, I'm just saving this because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget later. But yeah, so I'm going to come back to this one because I think the thing that we haven't seen is the Starship. And yeah, this is where we are on ship 24. And this is pretty amazing. I'm going to open this up in another tab. Huh. So you guys can see the protective boots that are on the Starship engine bells. And you can see that it's only a partial. I believe there's another part that goes on right here. And there you can also see all the framework for where all the other paneling goes. So they leave them off in the beginning so that they can get up there and do any work that they need when they're attaching all these engines. But yeah, this is pretty amazing. And thank you, SpaceX, for dropping this right now. That's pretty convenient timing.
I'm,
Go
I'm
ahead.
curious, do you see the spots where they want to put the 3 extra vac wraps?
Well, I don't think, I mean, they would go in between, but we shouldn't see anything for that here because that would require a completely different um, thrust puck. But
Understood.
yeah, I mean, it would be out of sight right here if they in that situation. But yeah, this is interesting. I like the way they have this LED light all around the inside so they can see it up there. Um, another thing that I'm noticing is uh, this double ring around the engine bell, which I don't know if I've noticed before. I don't know if
That looks to be new.
yeah, this is I think there's 3 of them. Yeah, there's 3 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, and
I
I
think
think
the one on the outer edge of the bell existed, but the two up higher I don't remember.
So does that mean the bell is telescoping?
No, it's just stiffeners.
yeah. So basically, um, when you look at most engines when they turn on, especially in vacuum, you'll see them flex and wobble. Maybe I might even have. I'm not going to pull it up while I'm also showing this, but um, usually you'll see them wobble, and because of how big these are, it might be helpful for that not to happen because as it's wobbling, um, the cross sectional area is actually going to change. So the cross sectional area is like if you were looking at the engine directly from below, instead of being 1 second. So when you look at the engine from below, you want your cross-sectional area to always be a circle. However, when it's wobbling, it's changing back and forth from a circle to an oval, which then changes the flow profile as the exhaust is exiting the engine bell, which if it's pretty much like pinched in that way, you could have flow separation on the sides, on the long sides of the oval. So by putting these compression bands on there, you're basically making sure that you have the same flow profile all the time, and it's not going to be doing that flexing, which could really, the flexing doesn't damage the engine. It's the exhaust, what the exhaust does inside of there while it's flexing, that causes the damage. So I think this may have something to do with that. But yeah, this is pretty amazing. I'm really excited that SpaceX decided to post this. And looking at the booster,
It's very interesting the difference in coloring on the various bells.
Mm-hmm.
what are those?
That's a good question. I was trying to decide that.
But the discoloration is what reminds me of GPJ's photoshopped image.
That is a pretty new feature, which was not on the other booster. And it looks like they're covered up or something. Like they have speed tape in them.
COPV maybe?
But why would they have COPVs there?
Interesting. Initially I would say that these could be where the like a combined Raptor chill vent, but it's not Raptor chill. Um, yeah, that's a tough one, and that's going to bother me for a while until I figure out exactly what that is. Uh, I'm sure we'll come up with it. That's really interesting, and I don't know how we've never noticed that before. I mean, we only saw them flip the dome like one time, but I'm sure some of our 3D artists will figure this one out because there are probably two pipes underneath here that they're unsure where they go, and now they just click to them what it is. So I'm really excited to see what that turns out to be if we are able to figure it out. But uh, man, looking down here, this is kind of crazy how close these engine bells are to this pipe that runs along the outside of the table. And you guys can see the exits of the fire hoses, we should call them. Um, Very interesting looking under here. Oh, wow.
Those are the ones with the spiral nozzles, correct? The fire hoses?
Yeah.
Got it.
Sorry,
Yeah, the
I'm
ones
trying to
coming in
figure
from the
out.
side are.
Man, I've been waiting for this angle for a long time. Because I've been looking for this pipe. Oh my gosh. This is a gold mine right here. I've been trying to figure out exactly where this enters the table to. Lots of thank you, SpaceX. I don't know if they were expecting us to go through. I'm not even looking at the engines, truthfully. I'm looking at the table.
Oh,
So,
come on. SpaceX knows if they
no.
publish it, we're going to microanalyze it.
There's two givens
Yeah.
in life: taxes and us analyzing this when they put out a picture.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I want everybody who are the three artists to understand exactly, excuse me, which angle we're looking at when you're trying to figure this out. So, hold on. I'm trying to figure out which side is where the QD is on. Man, it's really tough to tell.
You're talking about the big QD, yes?
Yeah, the booster QD. I'm trying to figure out which side it's on. I believe it's this side.
Yep.
Actually. Oh yeah. Because you can see the hangers. Oops, and sorry guys, the browser version of this zooming does not work very well, but you can see the LOX cryo tube down here. So the QD is either over here or over here. It's really, really tough to tell this angle. And I could overanalyze this pretty much all day long. But yeah, this is very, very interesting. I'm kind of excited to just get to static fire season. But one thing I want to point out down here is that, in my opinion, they aren't done with engine shielding still. And that's one thing that we've kind of been seeing them do over the last week is add in the engine shielding that covers this inner edge. So in a lot of the ground images of the launch mount, you'll see them up there on the Raptor platforms, and they're lifting up these panels on the side, and that's exactly what they are. They cover this inner ring. So they pretty much had everything installed except for those. But yeah, this is pretty amazing.
I don't know if anybody's asked this before, but you notice the nozzles are different colors. Does that mean that some are tested, some are not, or I assume they would test all the Raptors before installing them, right? At McGurk.
Well, if you look at them, they've all got lines running from the throat down to the edge. So they've all been fired, but it looks like they've been fired different amounts, which is conceivable.
Yeah, I would say they've definitely been fired different amounts, and some of them have interesting features on them, like this one right here. This like pattern on the inside almost makes me think that this one they did like a whole bunch of deep throttling with, where they where you end up with like a whole bunch of like soot coming out of the bottom of it because you're changing the your ratios of fuel to oxidizer. So I mean, and this one right here. So these two right here, right here, I think those are some of the ones that got that super deep throttle treatment.
Well, I think we may also be seeing two versions of the bell. The white zone looks to be like one that goes 2/3 of the way down and one that goes 1/3 of the way down. So they may have actually changed the design. Hey, it's SpaceX. What else is new?
Did you just get attacked right there, Dave?
Nope, just ran my hand across the mic. Sorry.
You're fine. Yeah. So sorry, say that one more time though.
I was saying that we've probably may have two different designs of the bell here. The white part, one goes about 2/3 of the way down the length of the bell, and one goes about 1/3. And I think that may just be a design change of whatever the internal coating is.
Yeah, this is very interesting the way that, and the cool thing on these, I believe you can actually see. Sorry, are these? Only the RVACs have cooling inside of the engine bells, right?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, so ignore what I was about to say, because on most rockets you would that do have engine bell cooling. Usually they're coiled up, but I think some of them go straight up like this, and you can actually see the cool marks. Where some of it is cooler versus being hot, where the internal cooling is. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, man, I could look at this pretty much all day. This is amazing. These guys are trying to throw off our episode, staring at this. And I'm still trying to reorient myself and figure out exactly where I'm at. But I figured it out. So the QD is directly behind this.
So I have a couple of questions for you if you're ready.
Yeah.
So Michelle Nichols asks, what is that thing to the left of 78? I don't know if you can see the numbers.
That was on that one.
This box right here. I'm not sure, but it's wrapped up in something, so it could be uh, just some sort of protection on like a mini COPV or something like that. I don't know if they still have COPVs down here. I don't think they do.
Well, unless I'm mistaken here, Zach, that looks like wood laying on the frame there
Scaffolding.
to make catwalks.
Yeah, they got catwalks going around. You can see more wood.
Yeah.
There's more right here.
Yep.
Man, I would love to stand up on the inside of here.
How crazy would that be? That view would
Yeah.
be phenomenal.
Yeah, I would work at SpaceX just to do that, and then I'd quit after they let me do it. Yeah,
So I
I have no desire to work there. I like seeing it from the outside. So, but one thing I also should mention is that the this part of the RVAC where the shield is came pre-installed on there. So when they moved it out of the tent one, we were able to see these, and I may actually be able to show that to you guys, but I will have to swap images in order to do that. So let me quickly swatch over here, so I don't have to. You guys don't have to see me scrolling through my Twitter in order to find it.
I have another question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mike Smith asks, so no static fire until the shields are installed?
Debatable, but I would say yes.
Makes sense.
So the reason that you want those shields installed, and this is kind of a theory that I have. You know, I think we've seen a lot of those engines tested to destruction at McGregor, and I think that part of that is that they're doing it on purpose. And I have a feeling that some of the ones that they're um, basically testing to destruction, I think they're probably contained within a similar box that exists below the. Here, sorry, I finally got that image up. Oops. Give me 1 second. Okay. So you're in this framework up here, so you basically have like a protective box around the images or around the engines, and um you can see how because you can see inside of this engine, if it were to explode outwards, it would hit the next one. But in between these two is a wall. So if this blows up, it ideally won't go through to the next one. And I would not be surprised if at McGregor they're testing them inside of boxes that are emblematic of what they're seeing here, so that they know exactly what kind of damage to expect um, if there was a RUD of one of the engines. So, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, it's pretty interesting the way that they do that. But one of the things I wanted to mention was almost forgot the. So this is one of the RVACs, and this is footage from Lab Padre. If you can't already tell from the huge logo up top, but as it's moving, you guys can see that paneling on the side of it, and that's thermal shielding. So here's the next one, and shortly followed by the third one. And yeah, all three of them have that same shielding on it already. So that significantly probably slows or speeds up the time that it takes to install those, which is pretty cool. But yeah, with that, we should probably get into the actual images from today. I said that
Yeah,
last.
now that we're an hour into this.
I blame SpaceX for that. So,
Exactly.
with that being said, I'm going to find a good spot to start over from, which was probably right here. Cool. So, as of for the last few weeks, we've been seeing them throw all the scaffolding up around the outside of the building. This is such a crazy amount of scaffolding. But you can kind of see that they've gone all the way to the roof now. Oh wow, we have a rain gutter this time.
Yep.
So we have a huge rain gutter on the side of the building. I'm guessing it probably is going to end right there. I can't imagine them. Well, maybe they'll put an actual gutter all the way down to the bottom instead of letting it just pour off the side of the building. But that's what happens on the high bay. So you never know. In my opinion, the only reason to never mind. I was going to say the only reason to have a gutter here is if you're going to have a balcony. But yeah, I guess I still feel that way. I don't know if they have it on the other side. So let's see. And we do, I believe. That's still gutter. Yeah, so it flows down from there into this one. So if you guys have been wondering what they're doing on top of the roof, that is one of the things they're working on is installing these gutters. So that's actually kind of cool. And again, that's a feature that they don't have on the high bay. So that looks. Oh, actually, they do. It just. I'll show it to you guys if we get a good image of it. But yeah, this is looking really good. They're nearing the point where we should start seeing any framework necessary for the windows show up, and then the actual windows themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if sometime next week we start seeing those actual engines, or sorry, still thinking about Raptors, windows show up.
Those will be some beautiful window images from inside that building. That view will be stunning.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get images from the inside of this because I imagine it looks way bigger when you're inside of it.
Is that going to be
And
CSI headquarters now? New headquarters,
nah,
perhaps?
that's the reason why we have the high bay is because they're gonna move over. And I'm gonna step through some of these images, um, unless Dave has or Dave or anybody else has any questions. Then uh, you can stop me, and if you guys see something as I'm going through these, let me know because there is a few things that I do want to talk about in particular. So I'm going to skip a little bit forward until I get to those, but I'll try not to go too fast because I know a lot of you get dizzy if I go through these really quick. So
Before you jump on into that, I'd like to just give a couple of shout outs for some donations through PayPal. We have Nathaniel donating $100. He says he's been watching for a while now. He thinks it's time to give. And if you don't give, it'll go dark. So he said, let's get Mauricio that new, very expensive camera. We also have another donation from Dennis, another 100, but this time euros. And he says for the camera fund. Thank you, gents, so much. And I believe there's one more from William. William donated $10, also for the camera fund and for Sunny. Thank you, gents, so much. We genuinely appreciate your donations. And I can't wait for that 61 megapixel camera. Can't wait.
There's actually one more Indian Star. It's from, let's see, from Dennis, Quenzel. I think I got that right. 100 euros, and the notes. It's for the camera fund. So thank you. Actually, you just said Daniel,
I
right?
did, the one right below it from Mule
Oh wow,
Skinner. It's $50,
most
also for the camera
$50.
fund. Thank you, Mule
Yes,
Skinner.
thank you guys. Thank you everybody. I appreciate that. We're getting a lot closer to getting that camera, so I can't wait for that. Thank you very much.
yeah, this is I'm really excited for that day when we're finally able to get those first images from it. But yeah, this is gonna be really exciting to finally bump up to 60 megapixels and see if we're able to get a little bit better imagery. Hey, Mauricio, I heard a rumor that the TFR was temporarily lowered.
I think the TFR is actually the same. What they did is they extended, instead of doing a 1 month renewal for the 10,000 foot TFR, they actually did it for two, for the month of July and August. So in August, the end of August will be the time to renew it again. So we're good. We're actually on. We're able to still continue the flyovers at this particular TFR restrictions.
But Mauricio, wasn't there like a 12-hour gap where one finished and the other one started? So there was a time where we could have had no flyover limitation.
I think there was at one point. I'm not sure about this time around, but I think there was. I guess I don't really know. I can't really answer that question, but I know it's happened in the past where there's been about 24-hour gap where you can actually do a flyover. We just couldn't get the plane booked and the pilot availability to line up, so we
Yeah.
we weren't able to make it happen. Even then, if something like that were to happen again, we wouldn't, take advantage of that and fly like at 3,000 feet. We just wouldn't do that. We'd want to still maintain a good cushion between us and the site below, maybe anywhere above 7,000 feet, just to be on the safe side. But
100%.
but
We
yeah,
don't want you being banned from flying over for sure.
Yeah, can't have that. um, well, oh, sorry. Did we just have another question come in too? I didn't want to miss that if we were
Not that I've seen,
okay.
but you know me,
So,
I'll interrupt you.
um, moving on, we still have these staircases being constructed on the side of the high bay, but I haven't really seen any major changes with that. One thing I do want to point out is it appears that we've finally reached the end almost of the first section of the Star Factory. So it's been taking quite a while, but they've looks like they've finally got to they finally reached a point where they're at that end, and so that's good because this should be the very last section of that building.
I,
As
I
far as
think
like
if you look
ports
by the TNT, there's one more column that needs one more set of roof beams.
oh, man, one second. Let's see if I can get another view of that.
I love these
They're
shots.
close. They're really, really, really close.
And that for sale sign on your previous image was hilarious because it does make it look like the ships are for sale.
Yeah,
Well, I
you
don't
know,
know. Is it the ships or the Grove cranes? Because the sign's the same color as the cranes.
is anybody else sad that they didn't change this back to being horizontal?
Somebody's got to get up there on a windmill lift and reconnect the link arm.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oops,
they're
sorry
just
about that.
waiting for a strong wind. Take it up.
So this is interesting. This must be Ship 16's transport stand after they finished scrapping it. Wait, did they finish scrapping it?
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if they finished scrapping it, but they may have because they're cutting it from bottom up. They don't need the transport stand anymore.
Yeah, and this is an older style transport stand, so if I had to guess, they'll probably go and pull the they're welded on. Um I don't know if
Angle
they're gonna
grinder.
remove the top plate or just grind it off, but yeah, they may probably take this back and do a conversion on it instead of building a whole new one. They do have other ones that are almost fully assembled, but it makes a lot more sense to just reuse one if you can. All you got to do is change out a few things on it. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they proceed with these because they're running out of space in Sanchez. So you really don't want too many more things just sitting around. But we'll see what happens with that. So moving on, I'm gonna try and get us
Came out
to
and then, go back. This frame's pictured. So we've got a 2-ring with a cap ring on it that's been sitting there for a couple of weeks now, fully pinned. Not quite sure what its purpose in life is.
I think this was used. This is used on boosters when they test the stage separation mechanism. Um, and I think that this was also had the cap for the can crusher on top of it.
I think they may just use it to hold the can crusher. Personally, I think it may have just been a scrap ring they repurposed as a can crusher cap holding rig. But anyway, it's been sitting over there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would expect. I don't know if Booster 7.1 has the stage separation clamps on it or not, but I think it would be interesting if they tested the interstage at max Q as well too. But the interstage is probably one of the stronger parts of the vehicle, so it might not be necessary to do that actually. So
There was a quick question. Crane Man was wondering, why did they remove and replace one of the grid fins on booster 5 before cutting it in half?
So the only thing that I can think of, and I'll go back to this image to show it. Maybe I think I have a video of this somewhere. But when they're lifting the tank section, basically, I need a good image to show this. There's got to be one somewhere. Usually they put counterweights. They hang counterweights off of the side of like nose cones, for example, when they're lifting them up. And if you remove one of the grid fins, then you kind of need to remove all of them, or else you're going to have an uneven load. So I have a feeling that they removed one of them, and then they maybe weren't able to get another one of them, the other ones off, and so they decided to put them all back on because it's going to be way too difficult trying to lift that up with the bridge crane with an uneven load. So that's the only thing I can think of that would be a good reason for that. But yeah, this is we're looking at the new rock garden layout, which is ship 20, 21,
22.
or sorry, 22/21, 15, which is
Yeah.
out of view here. And then there's booster 5 in the background. Or sorry, 4, booster 4 in the background. You can see the engine bells underneath it. So that's really awesome. I'm interested to see how long it stays here, if it's going to be permanent, or if they end up scrapping all of these. But I can't really. Now that they have the Mega Bay, like it starts to make sense to do more scrapping because they don't need a special crane just for this. But I don't know. They're going to need more space soon for additional vehicles. So I would imagine that they wouldn't want to keep these around forever, but time will tell.
So one thing you can see here, if you've been watching the Rocket Garden for the last 6 months, is there are no air compressors here anymore. They are now running on piped in compressed nitrogen that comes from the tank over by booster 4.
Yeah, so there's the tank on the ground right here.
Yep.
And this actually runs there's pipework underground that runs over to.
There's a hydrant by each of the stands that the gas comes out of.
Yeah, so you can see one right here.
Yep.
And
so that's the one for 22. There's one on the right for 20.
Yeah.
Yep. And then there's one further over for 15. So this is becoming a much more permanent exhibit area without having to have the old Atlas Copco trailer mounted compressors running to keep these things inflated.
Right. Yeah, and you can see in this image they still had the transport, or the SPMT is still underneath the transport stand. But yeah, I'm guessing, I don't know if they're still there right now, but it's good to see that movement. Getting booster 4 off of the launch complex and over to here is another sign of clearing stuff up before the first orbital launch. So always a really good sign to see little things like that. But yeah, I think that we're getting really close. We still have some pretty major things that I would say that they probably might remove from site. But we'll kind of touch on those a little bit when we get to.
Yeah, we've got 2 test tanks that need to get out of there.
2 test tanks, and they're gonna lay Marvin down somewhere. I don't know where, but they're gonna lay him down somewhere.
Yeah, probably over by test stand 2.
Yeah, because the thing is, you want it as low to the ground as possible during these tests in case something goes flying. You don't want to risk damaging this crane that took close to a year to build, if not longer.
Yeah,
So
there's a picture of the last column without a beam on it above the man lift.
yeah, this is so as I mentioned a few minutes ago, they have all the columns in place. They just need this last roof beam. But yeah, you guys can see that they've. If we had a flyover this week, I would assume that some of the ACE air conditioning boxes are already in place on the rooftop, because that's what it looks like down here.
Yeah, and if you
These are
look,
the
we've got
vents.
right, but
The
also if you look, we've got beams welded onto the beams. So I think they're going to build an interior room here, some other structure that lines up with the stairs in the corner. Those beams and those added beams are the same width as the stair area.
yeah, I mean, I would imagine either one giant manifold for all of them to connect to, possibly, or just additional. I don't think you need additional support structure for all of the sheet metal.
No,
Not
I
sheet
don't
metal.
think. I think
Cardboard.
those are beams for a ceiling, nothing to do with air conditioning. I think they're going to build an office area or a storage area or something over there and frame that up to the roof. Which
Yeah,
sort of is why would you what else do you need stairs for inside this wide open building? Unless there's a multi-story office and storage area, maybe.
right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that as a possibility. I'm. Oh wow, is this our first lights hanging from the ceiling back here?
Yep.
Nice. So we've started installing lights in there. But what I was going to mention that kind of Dave touched on as well. They've finally gotten a little closer to completing this, so it looks like there's actual walls going around this stairway up into a really tiny room. I don't see, unless they add another set of stairs, which I don't see yet. I would say that there would be a floor connected to this that goes like all the way across, but I just don't see that yet. But yeah, I mean, getting that HVAC set up early is really important because they should be able to start working in here relatively soon once they have the rest of the walls on and at least all your electricity ran in here. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see the way they finish this off.
Well, the sad part is, as soon as they frame it in, we won't be able to see inside it ever again.
Yeah, not until they finally give us a tour of the inside. I would say that you're probably right about that.
Zach, you need to make sure that you do the next tour on the inside. No disrespect to EDA, but it would be amazing if it was you.
They would never let me do a tour.
Never say never, my friend.
I got photographic memory. It's probably in their best interest not to do that.
He'd be too busy running around looking under everything in the room.
I wouldn't listen to a word Elon said. I would just be sitting there like looking around, taking mental pictures of everything.
Here you go. Then take me, and I'll ask the questions, and you can run around.
So we've got 2 ring sections there that I happened to see outside the container wall at Sanchez last week when I was down there. Those are much bigger than they look, but they were labeled as High Bay 2 Tower.
Tank sections?
Go back to the previous picture with the arced.
Yeah, those.
Those. All that steel is labeled as HB number 2 TWR. Because I took pictures of the labels on all of them.
Because for those of you that don't know, Dave was just down there.
Yeah, so I've been kind of expecting something similar to this for a while. So these these pieces right here are very similar to something that we can see in the aerials. Let me go ahead and grab that for you guys.
And those are big. I mean, the arcs are maybe 10 feet, 12 feet long, end to end, across the points.
Yeah, I know exactly what those are. So, swapping over to this aerial view. So the reason they call it a tower is because what we're looking at is another one of these. So with that being said, and you can kind of see it right here, there should be a no tab on the side right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs on there. So if we go back to that ground image, you're only going to be able to see half of them, but there's none on the end. 1, 2 right there, and I'm guessing there's 3, 4 over here. And with there being 2 of these, that means that they're able to build. They're able to build at least 2 more of these. So they already had 2, and now they have steel for 2 more of them. Let me see if I could see it down here. This is from last week. So going to be on the opposite side. Was that all the way up in here? We're looking at that.
That's in that would be in front of the wide bay, in the back of the wide bay in this case.
So down here.
Yes, but they're not there right now since that was last week. They must have been moved.
Okay. That might be one
That's
right there.
them right there. That's it right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that may actually be both of them as well. So that's at least 2 more. So here's the thing. These are either going to be. Let me get back to that good overhead view. So these should go in the actual corners of the wide bay. And this is interesting. You can actually see them installing handrails on them as well too. Guessing there was possibly going to be a walkway as well, but yeah. So that you should have an actual floor on this, floor paneling, and then this is a 9-meter diameter radius. So they'll basically pull the booster all the way up directly to it, and it may even contact it if they put like some sort of bumper on there or something like that. And so you're either going to have one of these in each corner, or you'll have multiple of them in each corner. As Dave said, like a tower. And so like I'm actually thinking of, and I hate to do this, but we're going to do it. I'll show you guys a comparison of what I think is going on here, and try not to throw up.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
Give me 1 second. Here we go.
Does the word SLS ring any bells?
No, but it's close. It might as well be. So, kind of similar to this structure.
Not that company.
Yeah. And this is a Greg Scott image as well, too. And I don't know if this is the best way to show this, but I mean, you guys can kind of see here that inside of this structure, they have multiple levels. And if you can imagine a Starship being built in here, then you'd be able to access each ring. And even though these don't have the curved part for like a tank section to fit in, that's basically what we'd be looking at. What we'd be looking at in this one.
This looks like Kerbal Space Program.
It is.
So lifelike.
Yeah, that's an interesting building. I'm not even going to analyze it, but yeah. So this is going to be cool to see how many of these they end up building.
Wasn't that their supposed booster washing building?
Washing?
Yeah. So when they reuse a booster, they have to make it shiny because they don't like sooty boosters.
So it's a booster car wash?
Yep. That's what I had heard.
I would focus on engines if I was them, but you know,
Hey,
I don't make
that's
those
not.
kind of
Hey,
decisions.
hey, I'm not in charge of that operation. Don't look at me.
Gents, we have a
uh,
special donation. I don't know if you both seen it, but Lab Padre just donated $20 and says, "Keep it up, Mauricio." Lab Padre's here. Hey, Louis.
Hey, Lewis.
what's up, Lewis? Thank you for joining us. He comes on the day we don't have aerials.
It's all right. We're just
welcome
happy
to
to
the
have
party.
him.
Right? I'm excited he's here. And oh, sorry, I actually switched back to the ground shots, but I forgot to do it over here. So this is kind of interesting. This is a pretty large beam right here, and I don't know. I can't tell where we are. Is this? Oh, okay.
That's
This is
outside
in
tent 3.
between. Yeah, in between tent 3 and tent 2.
Yep.
So this is still something for the wide bay, which means this is probably part of that curved structure. Oh wow! So in the background, you can see the other one, which has the handrails on it. Now that I know what I'm looking at, um, this looks like something different because the floors on this one are nowhere near as thick as this. So it'd be interesting to see what that is. Um,
Actually, Zach, if you look at the tabs, I think this is the main beam, and then the floors are the 8-inch beams coming off of it. If you notice, the tabs where those guys are working are much shorter than the height of the web of the I-beam.
uh, hold on, let me go to the aerial.
Yeah, so
So
the long beam that runs down the center, I think, is much thicker than the rest.
ah, that would make sense, and I think you're right. Um, that's exactly what that is. So there should be two of those, then two larger ones. Um,
Yep. And if you
yeah,
look at the loose ones that were by the circles, the pictures from this week, there are some very wide steel pieces and then some narrower beam pieces. So that fits.
yeah. So we're gonna call this the tower. Oh wow! I wonder if this is what the stairs are for, though. If this is what,
Could be.
yeah, tower stairs. There's a tower inside the tower. Tower Inception, happening inside the Mega Bay here soon. It'll be interesting to see how many of these they put up. We're definitely, and I bet you anything it's going to be in the front right corner, so we won't get to see it. I wish I could curse on this show. Um, so moving forward, we got
The word of the day is danged.
yeah. I was gonna say something else, but um, so we have a. I don't know if this is a test section or if this is one of the new ones. Um, I just saw a question somebody asked: "Is Blue Origin building square rockets?" Um, no
You
comment.
get to answer. You get to answer that one, Zach. I'm not going to get anywhere near it.
Oh man, that's funny. So, moving on, I do want to go
Well,
through here.
maybe they're building their BE4s out of Roblox.
Oh man, good jokes. So, uh, I want to move on just because this may be a little bit of a shorter show today, guys, because it is a holiday. So we want to give everybody time to have fun with their families. And some of you may be like, "Oh, well, I don't even like my family," but you gotta think about us as well. Mauricio has kids. Uh, Dave, you're still at Starbase?
No, I came home a week ago.
Oh, okay. Um,
Getting ready. Got to pace it out. Next trip should be about the last static fire, or maybe a launch. In the
Orbital.
end of July. End of July.
Dave,
I've got
thank
I've got
you.
July. I've got July 28th as a stated potential date. Only
Maybe
potential, but
I am now your biggest fan. July 28th is perfect.
I'm actually planning. I was gonna go down there at the end of July, but I'm actually going back to Denver for 15 days. So, uh,
well, that's okay.
so
You can take care of Denver. I'll leave it to you, and I'll go down to Starbase.
I'm having a tough time figuring out where these are. I keep getting distracted by these things.
I'm going to
I can't tell if
distract
this is
you
the
one
same
more time
platform.
and say thank you for the super chats from Martin Horman, who donated €5, Rocket Profit, who donated $20, Jim Cavett, who donated $5, and Wilfred, who donated $2.99 through PayPal. And then Wilfred also has a question and asks, what's going to be at the top of Mega Bay, and what about the ship QD? But we can get there when we get there. I'll ask you again.
Yeah, and you know about that tower that we were talking about. It doesn't have to be mounted inside of the bay. It could be mobile.
Well, except it said HB2 tower.
Well, I mean, it could be. What I'm
Well, it
saying
may
is,
not
it
be
could be on
permanent.
like
Yeah,
casters or
yeah,
something where they're
yep.
able to move it into different corners of the building.
So you were looking at something, wanting to tell us stuff?
On the last one,
What would we
Well, I
have
think that's
distracted
some
you?
engine. I think that's some engine baffles right there.
for booster.
The arc sections above on the pallet.
Yeah, I see
The
them.
ones that, yeah, I think those might be some more of the pieces that go around the engines.
And the front ones, or would they
Wonder
be the
what
ones
these
that go
are.
around the one under the ship? There were those round and the center engines.
I don't know what those front ones are.
It's a new one. I haven't seen those before.
They're big. Ooh, look at that.
Almost. Joey Quinto. That's what it is. It's a Joey Quinto.
Well, if you
Goes,
knew what Joey did, we'd have the answer to what they are.
but it goes along with the naming convention from the Ring Watchers. They have Quints and Mr. Quinto, Mr. Quint and Mrs. Quint.
Yeah, this is a interesting section. Um, maybe we'll get a shot of that from the air one day and be able to better figure that one out. But continuing on, and sorry if I scroll through these a little bit quick, guys. We also look, we saw this last week. This is one of the thermal shields for the booster engines. You guys can kind of see what the actually wait. This Yeah, sorry, this is for the booster engines. But actually no, this is for a Starship. Can't tell. Luckily we have one of the images from SpaceX to compare this to.
It's
1 second.
interesting that appears to be coated in tile material.
So let me swap from the. Yeah, so I think that might actually be the one of these, which would mean it's upside down. So this is the gimbaling engines on the Starship, and so if that's what we were looking at in the other image, then it's an upside down version of that. So it's not actually for the booster; it is for the Starship
And the tiles?
gimbaling engines.
Well,
Um,
but that could be the booster because the booster and the Starship have the same gimbling engines.
oh yeah, they do have the same in the center. Um, yeah, so it's possible that these are the same on both, but I am not sure on that. Um, it's still cool to see the inside of these, and you could kind of tell that like this is definitely made to contain a blast. It's almost similar, um, very similar to the inside of a suppressor for a pistol or a rifle or something like that. It kind of
Well, I think
looks,
the big thing on these is the outside looks to be a casting of heat tile material.
yeah. So that definitely gives a lot of thermal protection on the actual shield itself. Um, be interesting to find out what these are made of. But that could be exactly what it is. I mean, if you
Well,
if you look at it from the side,
look at the far edge where it's machined out. Oh, look all the way to the left, where they've actually there where it's machined out.
But is that wood on the outside?
No, I think that's the foam.
EPS.
Yeah,
The same stuff
Yeah,
we saw around the ullage
I think it's.
fence?
I think it could very well be the same stuff or similar to what they use on the Starship hexagonal tiles.
yeah. Because I mean, the booster when you're re-entering, um, your engines are basically faced straight into the plume. Um, so you should get a lot of heat on there when they're firing. So it would make sense to have something like that, basically the same material protecting it. So we got more images of these guys assembling the walkways. Oops. And there's going to be a lot of these ones. So going to, oof, man, sun came out. It's really awesome being able to see this from this direction. And while we're here, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to see the gutter, but you can see the exit for the gutter right here. So the gutter goes along the backside and then it exits right outside the door. I bet you anything they get water inside the doorway every now and then. Um,
Is there a
Such a
second
weird
layer
place.
of rain gutter though? Just above the windows?
Nah, no. You would have thought they could have put it like right over here so that it goes straight down the side instead of, you know.
Right, through the windows because you're going to ruin the view.
Well, I'd be more worried about the water blowing in through the wind.
Actually, is that open end pipe or does that actually elbow and go into the roof area and then down on the interior?
Oh,
Because
I've actually seen water spraying out of this before in
okay.
person. Yeah. So it looks like. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying something, Dave.
I was just gonna say you don't want to go out on the balcony when it's raining.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we got ship 24 back here, or 25, I believe, in the mid bay right now. Um, getting getting some work done on it. We excited to see them make some progress on this. I can't really tell if they're how much work they've done, but inside the mid bay, they're pretty much always in there on man baskets working. So it's probably safe to assume that they're still making a lot of progress on this, even though Ship 24 is about to start its testing campaign or continue its testing campaign.
Well, I don't think it was you that said it, but somebody in the last day or two, I've heard a comment that we have an opportunity in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to see 2 starships at the launch site.
Oh yeah, I think that was me who said that with the one of them on the
One stacked and one on a test stand, maybe.
yeah, probably about 3 or 4 weeks from now, maybe.
So 25's got to come along to catch up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna move a little bit ahead because I want to get to. It's a good one. So somebody asked about this before about taking these grid fins off. This is really cool seeing it from looking like this. This would be awesome to like walk around this from the ground level and look up at these grid fins. But yeah, so with taking one of them off, it's actually going to be unbalanced. So that's why they remove one of them so that they could more easily lift it with the crane. And even still, they had trouble keeping it level. So yeah, it's damn. I really wish I could see this in person. Really awesome view right there. Let's see.
All I can say is the scrap making machine is hard at work.
You know, this. Oh, I know what this is. This is the weird platform that we saw from the aerial view last week. Let me see if I can grab a good shot of it. Section. I'm a little bit slow on the images today, guys, because I don't have the. I'm bringing up older images instead of having all of the everything organized like I usually do. So thank you for bearing with me. But here we go. So I think we're looking at this ring right here, which we still don't know the purpose of. But that's what we were looking at from the ground in the other image. Now that I know it's there, I'm probably keep an eye on it on rover cam just to see if they actually end up doing anything with it. But yeah, it's really interesting the way that it has. Oh, okay. Are those hydraulic controls?
Yep.
Huh. Well, that'll be interesting. They're all over the bottom side of it.
Pretty good sized hoses, too.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting little platform. I wonder what it is.
And in honor of Thomas, water bottle.
Yeah, what the heck is going on here? So I'm trying to see if these.
Oh, I'm wondering if those might be. Could there be jack cylinders inside the posts above the
Get it off the
casters
ground.
to lift it up for some reason?
Yeah, it could be. I'm looking at these lock pins right here. That's interesting. There's,
Toe tongue for a forklift?
I don't know because it looks like it's meant to secure something on all sides. This almost looks like a lifting jig for something, but
Yeah, I agree there.
well, so we have to be on the lookout for what this will be used for. But yeah, I
Be
got
used for inside Star Factory where you can't see it.
yeah, probably. All
And
right,
here's the star of the week.
That's right.
debatable. But Dave, do you have some things you noticed on this that you want to point out?
Well, straight above your cursor, about to the top of the screen, are two PopLink mounted cameras for looking at something. Of course, I assume it's the first time you move this thing, those things are going to go out of position because they're not really secure. But they're both looking like towards the end of the arms where it would interface to the Starlink door on Booster 24 at this point, or Starship 24. There's a whole chain drive assembly there going down the arms. Yep. And there may even be a third arm in the middle between the other two that it would sit on top of. Yeah, that truss frame there. And there's also some pins sticking out that might be used to guide it in just past the end of the last pulley there. There's a hexagonal rounded end bar that might be a pin that sticks out to guide it into place on when it mates up with the Starship.
Interesting. I would hate to be the guy to have to run this chain. I've done that before, and it's not fun. Um, yeah, so this is pretty interesting, and it kind of gives you an idea of how tall those Starlinks are because they definitely have to be able to clear this curved part of the box. Um, yeah, it would
Well,
have been cool.
and there's side bumpers on both of the side arms to keep the Starlink centered side to side. So the Starlink would sit on the chain and then it can't slide side to side because of those bumpers.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the funny part is from this angle, it looks like it's part of the bus.
Yes, but it's quite the mechanical tool.
So there was a
Yeah, it's
question from Mr.
mhm.
Anderson, and he's wondering if you guys think they're going to use real Starlink stats for the orbital test flights. Do you think they loaded real Starlink stats in there the other day?
I don't know if they've loaded any yet. If they have any real ones, I would give it well over a 50% chance that they will throw a couple into Starship 24 just to say they launched them. And something you have to think about is if they're still using the same orbit parameters that they have talked about in the past, where it is a orbital velocity but not a full orbit path to Hawaii for the Starship, any Starlinks they eject would follow the Starship right into the Pacific Ocean. They wouldn't make one orbit. So it would only be a test of the mechanism, not of the Starlinks. So their lifetime would be 45 minutes or less.
Nobody wants that.
Why not? They just threw away 40 of them to a solar event.
I don't think that was intentional, though, was it?
No.
No,
It
but
happens, though.
they deorbit a couple out of almost every launch that fail on orbit. I mean, they've deorbited 200 and something already.
Yeah.
So they're, from everything anybody knows, look, they're throwing away the entire Starship. They're going to throw away an entire Starship, a couple of Starlinks, and yeah, it's rounding error.
There was one thing that Starship 3D did bring up. He says there's also wheels on which the Starlink wheel slides on. So I don't know if you all see that. And then he also says, and the chains have pegs to grab the Starlink and slide it out.
Yep, I did see the pegs. I mean, it's quite, like I said, this is quite the extension mechanism, and there's a whole nother mechanism inside the box and inside the Starship to capture them and then lock them in and then elevator them up and down so you can deploy them. Somebody's been spending a whole lot of time on this. This didn't just pop up overnight.
Well, if you're talking about Starship 3D, he is our 3D modeler, one of the many very talented individuals that we have around us.
I'm actually talking about the room full of engineers, or at least the cube farm full of engineers at SpaceX that have been designing all the little tiny pieces that make up this monster.
Oh, them.
Yeah, them.
So we have, I don't even know which Starship this is, but you can see this is meant to go around one of the flaps.
Jax might know.
Midlocks?
26 midlocks sounds about right.
And both of our trusty ring watchers knew that, both Rohan and Jaxie.
So I'm going to keep moving forward because we have some cool things at the. I want to touch on a few more structures over here at the Starlink building that we're thinking is, or what we think is the Starlink building. But I think there was something in here that Dave mentioned before.
Yeah. So this is a dome in its original form before it's been welded together. And there's a little white tag on the right end of it that would tell you which dome number this actually belongs to, but couldn't get a good shot of it. But that is a complete dome. All the sheets from one dome are on that one pallet. So every time you see one of these pallets, it's another nose cone or another dome.
That's pretty crazy that they're just this is all it takes to transport one of them versus what they started off with. So that's pretty awesome.
It is definitely becoming production line.
Woohoo!
And those would be these type of panels, right?
Probably those, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the inside of the high bay after they set the Starlink dispenser down, and you guys can see that the door is closed again. So we unable to see if there's anything in there, but probably doubt it. And with the welding robot in the back, as you guys can see.
And the air supply hose going up into that area so that the people stuck in there are getting some fresh air.
And ideally, they're not stuck in there. Do you think there's a large echo in there right now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's like being inside a grain silo. It's It's a 30-foot diameter steel room. It's going to echo like there's no tomorrow.
That's amazing.
This is interesting. I'm not sure if they're actually going to put the scaffolding all the way up to the top on this one or not, because they already have the siding done on the front. They're probably using the crane and the a guy in the basket in order to do those instead of putting the scaffolding all the way up. But um, it's hard to tell if they're going to go. Oh, okay, it looks like they will go all the way across the front entrance then, which I
They
guess we
keep,
were kind of expecting.
yeah, they keep adding more hardware to the perimeter. So yeah, it looks like as fast as they can get the scaffold up there, they're wrapping the thing up.
Yeah, it's going to take quite a while. And look at this from the side. That's pretty crazy. So let's see. I want to grab this from the bottom, move us a little forward a little bit. Oh, so this is the payload section? I believe, yeah, I believe this is
Mm-hmm.
Ship 25 payload section. That's getting. I don't know if they moved it or something. I've been kind of off of the live streams this week. It's been a busy week at work, so I'm a little bit behind on where things are this week. But yeah, so I guess this is now inside of tent 3. But hold on, I'm going to skip us forward again. Oops. Don't want to skip over anything cool, but got the.
And for any pictures you all don't see today, we encourage you to be Patreon members. That way, or even YouTube members, you'll get access to all of these photos and you get them the day Mauricio takes them. So you have a chance to look at them as quickly and as early as we do. So when you come to the stream, you will be more than prepared for us and our conversation. So I encourage you all, try it out, see what you like. He has all different tiers, and most of them, in fact, all of them, are extremely affordable.
And so this one right here, wait, is this the Mega Bay? So this would be.
That's high bay.
No, that's wide bay.
Is that wide bay? Okay.
Yeah, so that would make this the Booster 8 lock section, I'm guessing. I don't know if Booster 5 lock section is still in there or not, but
It's off.
What was that?
It is. It's off to the right.
And so 8
Okay.
is on the left and 5 is on the right.
Yeah, so this is the good one, and the other one's being scrapped right next to it. You can actually see the lead-ins up top for them to stack the methane section whenever they do that. And sorry, one thing I'm noticing just about, and we know that this is a temporary stairway, but I'm just looking at the way that tower thing that we were talking about earlier would fit around this if that's where it was going to go. I'm imagining they would put a permanent stairway there first, but yeah, I would assume that it would back up against something like this. Oh, a little dark on that one. Going to move us forward a little bit more, and I think we've seen this. This is basically one of the pre-tiled aero flaps. Looks like somebody took a bite out of it, but sorry, I just saw a message in the background. But sorry guys, I keep skipping forward. I'm trying to get. There's some really cool stuff coming up that I'm trying to get to, but I don't want to skip over things that people might be interested in. So we have Booster 8 methane section still sitting inside the mid bay with Ship 25. And in the background, you guys can see I believe these are some of the jigs they use to mount various things on the side of the these maybe for the flaps actually, and they kind of just hang it off the wall, kind of like you would hang a broom up in your garage. So it's interesting use of space, but that's really cool because all they have to do is reach past these with a crane and then lift it forward and use it when they need it. Let's see. Got some shots of the back of Booster 4. Oh man, are they taking even more off of this? This would be Ship 15's aft flap, now made easier access for squirrels and birds. I don't think there's squirrels out there, but yeah, I think this is part of where um they removed paneling and they like gave it to employees. They probably cut it into smaller sections, but I thought
Yeah,
it was
like
the
one in
other flap that they did that on.
the
But
other one is completely denuded of the back, so they started on this one.
I wonder if this one's gonna how long this Starship will last. Everybody be
It's
sad to see
stainless.
15 go because yeah, it is famous, but I don't know. Like I said, they need space.
Yeah, but
This is,
22 is a marked bird.
you know, I realize now that
22's got no claim to fame.
this is crazy looking at this from the bottom and imagining this actually having any effect on your aerodynamics or just braking. You know what I mean? Like this is if you I don't know if you could get any more of an angle that would make it look. I mean, that's about as perfect as you're going to get. But yeah, you could see that the actual surface area is probably like I don't know, less than
Nothing.
2%, like 1% of the entire, even less than that, maybe. But it's
Well, Mauricio did get an amazing aerial shot of Booster 4 on the OLM from straight overhead, and the grid fins completely disappeared.
yeah, that's pretty awesome seeing it from this angle. Is that some rust on the stainless? Oh, there you go, guys. Even stainless can rust. um, so moving forward a little bit, and then actually, we should take some questions as well too if we have them.
Actually, I wonder if that is rust that has blown off of the grid fins, because it looks like it's coming out down in a diagonal slash under the grid fin on the top of Booster 4.
Yeah, I mean, it could have rained off of here or
Yep.
splashed
Yep.
off here.
Yep. Just rain blowing and picking rust up and then hitting the side of the Starship and evaporating.
So I will say it is 2 o'clock, and you guys are lucky because um, I shouldn't. I do need to be places, but I'm not gonna leave here without covering a few things. So we're gonna be extending a little bit, but I definitely want to work our way through the rest of these images. This is, I guess, we were mentioning on the other side is that they have completely stripped this inside of this side of ship 16 or 15. I wonder, like, once you get your year tenure at SpaceX, if you get one of these pieces or something like that. So
I think they gave it to every employee in the last month or two. It's cut into like 1-inch squares and mounted in acrylic.
wow. I have one on my desk right now, but it's not from 15. I think it's from 11.
I have I don't know if I told you, I have like a 50-pound stainless steel from the scrapyard. It's just sitting there in my garage. I don't know what to do with that, but I'm not really sure where it's from. It could have just been scrap, or not sure if it's from a ship or just. I thought it was pretty cool.
I can remove it for you if you need me to. No?
If you maybe if you can take it on the plane back to Chicago.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. This is interesting. So I just noticed they got some gutters going on the side of this building. So this may be similar to what we'll end up seeing on the wide bay as far as the way the gutters are. But these are basically the exact same as what's on top. So maybe we'll see um, the I guess you would call them. I normally call them risers, but I don't think they're risers when they're gutters. So
Downspouts.
downspouts, yeah. So there's about 4 of them. I'm guessing there will be some on the other side, unless it's all tilted this way. But yeah, they got all of the not all of it, but a good amount of the HVAC in there. Started painting the inside of the rails, and I mean they've fully wrapped all this. And I don't remember the last time I've seen wrapped.
I got a building full of it.
Well,
It's pretty common on the cold air duct on air conditioning, just so you don't get condensation on it.
right, but less likely when you're cycling back and forth from cold to hot, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's almost it's a pure AC duct. And the other purpose for it is in a lot of cases in office spaces and stuff, they'll wrap it to cut down the noise transmission.
Right.
Because air ducts can be very noisy.
Yeah. So looking at this from the front, they also have started a new structure on the inside of here, which is pretty interesting to me. This almost looks like something can slide up here, go up and down it, like almost how the gantry crane rides on the ground on rails. This looks pretty similar to that, but this could be the start of some sort of walking platform, or I don't know. Do you have any ideas on this one, Dave?
I don't, but I did see a later photo from somebody from almost this exact same angle, and there are 2 more of those columns installed behind what you're seeing here. These columns are about 10 feet from the door. They're not up against the wall at all. But there's another set of columns further back in the building, but without the cross bracing. So there's 4 columns, 2 of which are cross braced, and I suspect over the next week we're going to see something else happening, but not quite sure what.
Yeah, I was thinking, kind of expecting to see some shelving in here, but that's I mean, as long as they don't have a door on the front, we'll still be able to keep up with the progress in here.
Well, I am expecting, roll-up garage doors to show up any day with a semi-trailer roll of garage door material.
Yeah, so probably won't be too long until we see that, I'm guessing. At the beginning of the show, I talked about this platform right here, about how this is most likely for a work platform for underneath the launch mount. So if you guys were here at the beginning of the show, then you remember that I said that these should fold up from the side. We got a decent image of it from the ground, so now we're pretty much confirmed that that's what it does. So if you're looking at it from this way, you would fold it like a taco over to the middle. You could see the main support frame in the center. And so once you put it on top of, I'm imagining that they're either building another one of these extendable high lifts, or they're going to take this one and convert it over to put the other structure on top of it. And so basically, as you're looking at it from this angle, they would be able to drive straight underneath it, probably from the other side, drive straight underneath it, and then open up the almost like flower petals, and then lift up, and they should basically be able to get all the way up to the bottom of here. And that would allow them to work on all of the engines at the same time instead of only like 5 or 6 of them. So that will be pretty interesting once they finally get that up and going. But I think we're finally able to confirm that that's what those are. There's some more stuff going on down here, which I think we'll see a little bit better in some future images. But I think we touched on this last week. The shielding for the launch mount legs is looking a lot better now that it's welded and painted. You can kind of see how thick it is on the backside. Definitely sends everything fully around the leg. But there's a few more things that I wanted to touch on here. Actually, let's see. I need a good image of a suborbital B if I can get there, but I'm going to go slowly. And stop me if you guys see something along the way, because I am looking for one thing in particular. So,
Other than our two insulated vent pipes there at the top of the booster, nothing real exciting.
yeah, it's interesting that they have it on the backside, but not on the front side. Interesting. A lot of interesting features on here that I didn't realize before. But one of the other things that we've been seeing is I've noticed is a little bit of changes on the cameras. I'm not sure why I don't think these cables are normally hanging this low. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but I know they're about to do some work on the actual chopsticks themselves. So I think they're just preparing for that. But we haven't actually seen them start it yet. Let's see here. Got another shot of it from the ground angle. I'm looking for one thing in particular. I don't know how far it is. All right. Sorry. I feel like I'm going backwards in the images. This is the one I was looking for. So we do have. It looks like they've removed the formwork from that little ditch that we were seeing. Oh wow, Mauricio completely hid that guy's head. Okay, sorry, that just caught my eye. So this is a little interesting because I do notice this back wall on here. So I'm wondering if it's open on the bottom side. But we looked at this from the aerial view last week, and it's actually a ditch that runs along the side of it. So I don't know if this wall is if it is truly here like it looks. It could be a spill wall, or it'd have to like actually go over the top of it into the next one. But I'm not really sure. We have to wait. I'm actually expecting them to um, put more of it around here, but we haven't seen them start removing the dirt for that yet. But they do have. I think these stakes are just for the property line. I was looking if they would mark out where that ditch would be, but I don't think so. But I do want to take some questions. We have a lot of people in here, which is really awesome to see. 560 of you guys here, even when we don't have aerials to cover. So we appreciate you guys, and just for your guys' information, Mauricio did try to do a flyover this week, but I think he ran into a few issues. Mauricio, did you want to speak on that at all?
Yeah, so we had some scheduling issues with the pilots. We had several backup pilots that, unfortunately, our main pilot, he's actually out on at a different state right now, so he's out of town. But we're actually planning on doing. I have already scheduled a flyover for July 4th. So it's going to be a July 4th flyover, so that's going to be interesting. And so for those of us, for the Patreon members and YouTube members, just stay tuned for that. And we'll probably review those images sometime next week. There might actually be 2 flyovers next week. Still not sure about that. We're kind of just going to play it by ear. So look out for that.
Well, I'm excited for that. Everybody knows I get anxious when we skip weeks on flowers, but there's not much we can do about that. It's all about the pilot schedule a lot of times and weather conditions, so things get in the way. And as I mentioned before, it's really awesome having 570 of you in here now watching. So I'm starting to think that a lot of people who left when a lot of the action from Starbase kind of cooled out, are starting cool down, are starting to come back now that we're getting close to uh, static fire season. So it's good if you guys haven't been here for a while and you're trying to get caught up on everything that's happened since you're away. Uh, Hopefully, we're getting you caught up a little bit, and I think we'll have even more for you when we are able to bring in the aerials as well next week. I'm kind of showing them as we go here too, but yeah, there's still lots of interesting stuff happening from the ground angle. In particular, hold on, before I continue, um, with there being so many of you in here, I try not to say this too often, but if you guys haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button. Um, it does help us out with just getting this stream a little bit more visible to people who may have not seen it before. So if you guys are able to take a second and do that, we would greatly appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so we have some interesting things over on the berm side. As most of you are aware, they have finally started to um, add concrete to the berm as of a few weeks ago. So the you can kind of see down here, this pipe right here is actually just a similar to like a ground vent. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if this ends up getting buried at some point. Um, Actually, I would assume that this needs to get buried before the first launch, truthfully. So when we see the ground vent happen normally, if you guys are ever watching venting or the during the beginning of other like cryo tests, you'll see like random venting coming from this field area, and it's really hard to tell where that ground vent comes from, but it's basically the same thing as what you're seeing here, except it's buried. So I would expect them to dig a ditch next to this berm and bury that at some point, but uh, obviously there's more important things like getting this berm ready, and you guys can kind of see the interesting features they're putting on here to kind of keep it safe. So it looks like they have um, pipes coming out of the side of it, which I'm assuming would allow for water to drain out from behind it if there's anything. Um, if there's how would you explain this, Dave? Did we lose Dave? That's okay. But hold on. Can you guys give me 1 second?
Yeah, while we wait for GB here, I just want to go over a couple of PayPal donations. L. Hibbert
All
sent
right.
$11 for the camera fund, and I think that's about it for now. So I appreciate that. I'm not really sure if I went over this one, but Wilfred Van Reen sent $2.99, and he asked a question. I'm not sure and then start here if you've already read off this one, but what is going to be at the top of the Mega Bay, and what about the ship QD Claw?
I have not read those, and I think I have an answer to that question. I believe on top of the Mega Bay, they're going to put offices. That's what I've heard. So that might be a
Yeah,
good one.
that's also what I've heard as well. At the beginning stages, I know there was a I think it was around lunchtime, so the workers were going to their vehicles, and I asked one of them in Spanish and to see what they were doing up there, and that's what he mentioned, that they're probably going to be offices, but
Mauricio, look,
don't really.
turtles in a half shell.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had to step away. It appears that the 4th of July celebration has started in my house, so I had to ask people to be quiet. But yeah, so I don't think we're able to see it from this side, unfortunately, but we did have. I'm going to see if I can get to the back side of this if you have a shot of it. Uh, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. I don't think we have a shot of it. But on test stand B, they've actually, I think it's the same as this one. I can't tell if this is only steel right here or there's a little bit of concrete at the bottom. But they've actually started on test stand B adding formwork, I believe, all the way up to about right here, which shows that they're going to add concrete around the base of it. Kind of, I'm assuming, add a little bit more of like flame diverter type thing around it. I'm not sure why that's necessary now, even though they've already done 6-engine static fires there. But yeah, so I was hoping I was gonna be able to show that, but I don't think we will be able to. Unless one of these, nope. What is that?
The guillotine.
Oh yeah, so these are some interesting framework that we noticed show up at the launch site, which I have a few theories on, but I'm gonna hold that until they actually move it around. But I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we want to cover in here right now. Dave, you've gone through these a little bit better than I have.
Not much on the launch site. It's been pretty quiet over there. They've been working on suborbital B plumbing it. They've been working on the QD arm for the tower. They've been working on Raptors and Raptors and Raptors underneath the booster.
Yeah, it's we're getting close, guys. It's like, I don't know. I think the day that we were anticipating the first static fires being was July 5th. So that would be Tuesday, I think.
We've
so-
got road closures Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think, now something like that.
Yep. You are right, sir, as usual.
Lots of the road closures coming up, lots of opportunities. Roll up garage door. Nothing that exciting.
Is that the launch site?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably for the
Probably for the container wall.
yeah, the container wall building. But yeah, I wish we could stay on a little bit longer. I'm a little bit nervous right now because I just sense it getting louder in my house, and I'm not going to be able to control what happens in the background.
Wait. You could control at some point?
Normally, but once you have more than 15 people in your house, then it becomes hard.
Where's
so I don't want to
my
be that
invite,
guy.
by the way, to this party?
I just got my own invite yesterday, so
So you're saying
yeah,
it's in the mail. Got it.
I've never had a party at my house that I found I had more than 24-hour advance notice of. So
You got to talk to your roomies about that, bro.
I think if they told me that they were having one, I would probably try and talk them out of it. So that's probably why they just don't tell me until there's nothing I can do about it.
And then he does all the cleaning too, poor guy, beforehand.
I don't want to even think about that. So yeah. With that being said, I want to address all the remaining questions that we have.
I'm ready when you are.
What?
I'm ready when you are if you want me to ask those questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So there's a question from Cody G, and he wants to know if you guys saw the welded braces on the water tank.
Yeah. So they added some braces on the backside of the water tank. I think we could see them from this angle, just barely. Yeah. So the reason I haven't commented on these is because I don't know why they're there and they don't make sense yet.
I will totally agree. They make no sense to me at all because I can't imagine that direction being something you need to brace, but who knows?
Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, the only other thing I could think of would be additional loudspeakers or something like that, but even that is pretty large. I mean, because the current loudspeakers are very close to the berm, and I'm predicting that they'll get knocked out when during the first tests. So you can, my God, look at this. So the loudspeakers are up here, so the flames are going to go straight over the top of it.
We'll be able to hear those flames, though. That'll be amazing if it doesn't melt them.
I would imagine that this would get moved at some point from the top of this to somewhere else. And there are is it only 2 sets of them or 3? Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what it's for, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that ended up getting moved onto the water tank. But that's really the only thing that even remotely makes sense because number one, there's only like 4 or 5 of these on here. They don't go all the way around yet. So it's really hard to tell what they're being used for.
But they're like 8 feet tall. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah.
So I have another
Yeah,
question for you from Star Vision. He asks, what steps of the B7 testing were completed last week? Do we know? I
no
understood
idea.
ambient and cryo potentially. Potentially.
I didn't see any cryo, but I was also working all week, so I didn't really see much this time around. It's one of the few weeks where I'm not really paying attention to stuff. It was the end of the quarter at work, so I actually prioritized. Well, let me take that right back. I always prioritize work, but I super prioritize it this week, Brad. Um, so yeah, extra busy work week for me this week. I didn't get to watch the tests, but I just noticed that they were cycling the tank farm. I didn't really see anything special about them, but I could be wrong.
Dave, thoughts? Are you good?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was not a full cryo. They looked like they got a little bit of liquid nitrogen into the tank and vented it out, but looked like almost more GSE testing than booster testing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, one thing I did. Oh wow, look at that. Non-driving. Never mind. I'm not gonna comment on
Just
that.
keep it moving, my friend.
So
Well, they are
wh-
adding all these nice, pretty orange truck stop your fence line.
um, yeah, what I was going to comment on was that was really cool that I did see after the cryo test or whatever test it was ended. There was like 10 tankers that lined up to
Yes.
offload at the same time, which was really cool. I have a really nice time lapse of that. I haven't posted it yet, but I will at some point.
Well, and something you can see in this photo right here is the stripes going back to tell them where to park have LED guidance lights built into the ground.
Oh, that's cool. Those aren't cat's eyes that reflect. They actually light up.
No, they very definitely light up. We were down there on the side of the road Friday night maybe, and yeah, there's like the first four bays have like four LEDs in a row on each stripe.
Very cool. All right, I got another question for you from Crane Man. Is there any new info on the Ship QD claw? Is it obsolete? And are the chopsticks taking that function?
Um, well, we get asked that question every week now. It's kind of tough to tell without seeing any new changes to it. So I'll just say that we don't really know. There's been no work on that. So as far as we know, maybe there won't be a change to the claw, but uh, not my favorite subject to talk about. I'm not happy about the not being a claw. So
Well, a
I
claw of
think
some
people
sort
know
could
that and they
still
keep asking me
reappear.
because they know that I hate that there's no claw.
A claw could still reappear,
Fair
or at
enough.
least something to drive the two work platforms that right now are just sort of hanging out there, flopping on the end of the arm.
Yeah. And I did see a question from Spoilsport that I want to address real quick.
Hmm.
He's asking about a new pipe over here. If he's talking about this one, it's not new. And if he's talking about this one, we're skipping it. But this one is basically the ground vent. So it comes from the cryo test stations. It's been there for about a month and a half or 2 months, if not longer. It basically, my theory is that you can't fully drain these um, back to the farm because once the tank falls below a certain level, there's no way to push it back anymore unless you're using like the internal pressure of the tank to do it. So like there's no backwards pumps. So I really do think they just let the tank, all the nitrogen inside boil off and it comes out of here. It takes a long time.
Yep, I will agree with that. And wouldn't you like to see that pipe moved on the other side of the berm and made permanent?
Yes. And or under the ground somewhere right here.
Well, I
But
mean, if it's just a vent, it doesn't have to be underground. They've got all that pipe rack on the backside of the berm. Just put it over there and still let it vent out just like it is, but don't have it in front of the berm.
problem is that there's no way they're going to fit this under the berm. There's too many pipes going underneath the berm already. And I don't even know how they fit the ones that they had there, let alone this is definitely larger than all the rest of them. I just don't think it's even possible without putting another culvert down, which would be a major undertaking, I think. So
real fast, we did get another $10 donation from Arthur Long, and we wanted to thank him for that, and it went towards the camera fund. And there was one last question. Do we know where they put the flight computer on Starship and Booster? And that is from GTAV and more.
I can answer that unless you want to, Zach.
no, go ahead.
Okay, so on the booster, the flight computers are on the side of the base where the hydraulic power units are. They run up vertically along the side of either the COPVs or where the HPUs are. On the Starship, not sure now, but they used to be mounted on top of the top dome and came down the raceway to the engine area, which protected them from all the heat and blast of the engines.
Mauricio, did you want to share real fast? Because I believe we're close to the end, if not there.
Right. Just, I wanted to just remind people that we also have a merch store, and just a while back, I actually updated the t-shirt design. I don't know if you can pull that up, GB, just so you can show the latest underskirt shot of of the ship, and with the 6 RVACs and which is the updated design. But if I'm not mistaken, from what we've seen from the images that SpaceX posted, it only has 3 RVACs at this point. But eventually, they do plan on adding 3 more. Is that correct?
That's the rumor.
Yeah. So I updated it to reflect the 6 RVACs. So if y'all want to check that out, that's also one way you can also support the flyovers or whatso. But
yeah, and so as you guys can see, they do make them in multiple colors. So we have black, pink, blue, lighter pink, dark blue. What is this, like teal-ish? No, not teal. I don't know what that is.
Light blue.
And also this particular design, actually, I don't know how to put this, but there was actually that design. They actually had it on the doors of tent. I think it was tent 1. So when the doors actually close, you can actually, I don't know how I saw that picture, but somebody must have peeked through the tent, and you can actually see that design, the wireframe design on the actual. So it's very similar to what SpaceX actually has.
It was visible during the Elon walkthroughs with Tim Dodd.
Yeah, it's slightly different. Obviously, the original one only has 3 RVACs. This one has 6. I guess more updated version of it. So if y'all want to check that out, feel free.
Yeah, and I think we can throw that link in the chat as well too, if it's not there already. Oops. Yeah, don't want to end on that. So with that being said, I believe we're at the end of today's show, and I do want to thank everybody for joining us again. It's really awesome having everybody show up here on Saturdays every single week, and especially that it seems like the audience is growing. And again, even without us having a flyover this week, it's really just honestly even better in some ways that you guys are still here to watch the show. So with that being said, hopefully we do get at least one, hopefully possibly even 2. So we'll have like 2 things to compare next week. But yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome getting the next flyover in, and hopefully you guys will be there to for the next episode as well too. With that being said, my name is Zach, and I will go ahead and let everybody else give their what do you call it? I'm not good with words today.
Outros?
Outros.
Your
yes.
outros, your closing comments. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Keep your eyes peeled for more pictures on Monday. If you're a Patreon, expect Mauricio to have a quick overview of them on his Patreon channel, and then hopefully later in the week we'll get another flight, and next weekend we'll have more pictures than we know what to do with. And I will toss it to Indian Star.
No such thing as more pictures than we know what to do with, Dave. I beg to differ. Thank you all
Well, we
for.
only have 3 hours.
Well, that might be true, but that doesn't mean we can't see them, especially Patreon members. Kind of the benefit. I just want to say thank you all for joining us. I hope to see you all next week. I hope you enjoyed this session. And Mauricio, it's all yours.
I'd like to thank, first off, the RGV crew here. They put in a lot of work to make these streams possible. And I appreciate the support as well from the community for the camera fund and also for these flyovers. Not sure if I mentioned this, but we're actually not flying from our same airport. We're actually flying out of McAllen, Texas. So that means that the rental prices are more expensive there, and along with the distance. So without the support, we wouldn't be able to do that. And aside from that, that's pretty much it for me. And I don't really know the Grandpa Joe's I guess closing. I think Dave knows it. Maybe.
I do not, but I do have one important thing to ask everybody that's watching. Please like the stream and subscribe.
And we can end it with,
And
we love you all. That's how he normally ends it.
I think it's main engine cutoff, stage separation confirmed. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.